that is the principal muscles of mastication. That means it is classified. The muscles of mastications are classified on the principal muscles of mastication. Okay. It is, what are the names of the principal muscles of mastication? We have discussed in the previous class. First it is temporalis. Second is masseter. Third is lateral pterygoid. And fourth it is the medial pterygoid. Okay. So these four, that is the temporalis, masseter, lateral pterygoid as well as the medial pterygoid, are the principal muscles of mastication. There is no fifth one. Now in the another group there are accessory muscles of mastication. Accessory, which assist this function. Accessory muscles of mastication. These are the suprahyoid muscles. Look here, there is the hyoid bone here, and above that there are some muscles which are the suprahyoid muscles that are included in this accessory muscles of mastication. What are those muscles? First is the buccinator muscle. Buccinator, then geniohyoid, mylohyoid, then the anterior belly of the digastric muscle. Anterior belly of the digastric muscle. Okay. So these are the list of the accessory muscles of mastication which assist these muscles in the process. Okay. Now one by one we have to describe the muscles of mastication. First is temporalis. Look here. First is temporalis. On the muscles of mastication, there are long portion, okay, and sometimes on the individual muscles, just like the temporalis or the masseter or the pterygoid group of muscles, were asked short notes. Okay, so be attentive in the class. So temporalis. First is temporalis. The nomenclature of this muscle is temporalis. So there is some connection with the temporal region, isn't it? Temporalis. You have heard the nomenclature of the temporal fossa, the infratemporal fossa. Okay. See here. This is the zygomatic arch we have discussed in the previous class. This is the zygomatic arch which is subcutaneous here, and above that this is the area of the temporal fossa. Below that there is the infratemporal fossa. So this is the boundary between the temporal and the infratemporal fossa. So this temporalis muscle, the first muscle of mastication, it originates and where it is inserted. So before going to the individual group of muscles, okay, before going in detail of the individual muscle of mastication, you should know about the certain characteristic feature of this group. This group of muscles have got certain characteristic features. What are those features of these muscles of mastication? Just like when you have done the dissection on the hamstring compartment or the hamstring group of muscles or the back of the thigh, there are also certain features of that group of muscles originating from the hip bone, inserted over the any one bone of the leg, just like that, supplied by the common nerve supply, like that. Here also there are certain features, important features of this muscles of mastication. First, the muscles originates from the temporal region or the infratemporal area, temporal region or the infratemporal fossa. Origin of of these muscles? Okay, clear? The second important feature is all the muscles of mastication originating from the temporal fossa or the infratemporal fossa will be inserted over the mandible. Mandible, look here. Mandible has got, we have read it the tutorial classes. This mandible is a horseshoe-shaped bone, convexity facing anteriorly. This is the body, and the posteriorly a pair of rama is there. So this quadrilateral piece of bone, which is anteriorly continued with the body of the mandible. Posteriorly it is the ramus of the mandible. So all this ramus of the mandible, there is insertion of all the muscles of mastication. Insertion over the ramus. Okay. Now getting inserted over the ramus of the mandible. Now the origin from where these muscles of mastication has been derived. Developmentally, all the muscles of mastication are the derivatives of first pharyngeal arch. First pharyngeal arch. Okay. Now, what else? All these muscles of mastication, as you know, derivatives, all the pharyngeal arches has got its own nerve. Okay, that's why because all muscles of mastication are derivative of the first pharyngeal arch. That's why they will be supplied by the nerve of the first pharyngeal arch, and the nerve of the first pharyngeal arch is the mandibular. So nerve supply will be provided to these all muscles by the mandibular nerve. Okay, so these are the important features, common features of these muscles of mastication originating, insertion, from where it is derived, and what would be the nerve supply. It is not like that this muscle is supplied by this nerve, temporalis, individual muscles are supplied by individual nerves. Only one nerve, mandibular nerve or its branches, ultimately its branches will supply the muscles of mastication. Now, temporalis muscle. Okay, these temporalis muscle, it is the shape of this, it is fan shape. What is this shape? It is a fan shaped muscle. Look here. Here it is, suppose this is the temporal area. Here it is the external aqueous meatus. This is the mastoid process, and just above here it is the temporal region. Okay. Now the mandible is here. Here it is the coronoid process. Okay, and here it is the head of the mandible, like this. So look here. This is the zygomatic arch. So this is what? On this temporal area, look here. On this temporal area, this is the temporal area. This one, I have drawn this mastoid. This is the mastoid process. This is the external auditory meatus, and this is the temporal line or the boundary of the temporal fossa, you can say. There are two lines, superior temporal line as well as the inferior temporal line. So what is the relation of this origin of the temporalis muscle with the temporal fossa and these two temporal lines? Okay. Now one by one. This is known as the superior temporal line. Okay. And this is the inferior temporal line. Inferior temporal line. And the temporalis muscle, a fan-shaped muscle, it originates from the whole of the temporal fossa. Whole of the temporal fossa. And it has got three types of fibers depending upon its direction of the origin. Okay. It is like this. It has got vertical fibers here. It has got oblique fibers as well as it has got the horizontal fibers. And this bundle you can say it is the vertical. This you can say it is the oblique. And here you can say it is the horizontal fibers. Okay, so now from where these muscle fibers of temporalis originates? It is originating from whole of the temporal fossa as well as the inferior temporal line, as well as the temporal fossa. That means origin from of this muscle, temporal fossa. Okay, temporal fossa. Inferior temporal line also gives origin to the fibers. Inferior temporal line plus temporal fossa. A very tough fossa here, temporal fossa, sheet covering, epineuritic sheet covering of the temporalis muscle. Now, if the temporalis muscle originates from this fossa, then where is this fossa is present? This temporalis muscle itself, it is covered from above by a fossa which is very thick, which originates its upper attachment on the superior temporal line. So that the muscle, it is lying below that temporal fossa, and the lower attachment of this temporal fossa, it is on the zygomatic arch, isn't it? So that, suppose this is the temporalis fossa and here it is the temporalis muscle. So inner surface of this temporal fossa, it will give origin to the few fibers of the temporalis muscle. Okay, so this is the origin of the temporalis muscle. Now, the three type of fibers depending upon the direction and all the, it has got a common tendinous pattern at the site of insertion. We have discussed now that all the muscles of mastication should be inserted over the ramus part of the mandible. So you must be knowing this is the two processes present on the ramus of the mandible. Anteriorly the conical process, it is known as the coronoid process, and posteriorly, which is the oval shaped, or you can say the head of the mandible. Okay, so this temporalis muscle, fan-shaped muscle, it is coming to be inserted on this coronoid process just under the zygomatic arch, just inner side of the zygomatic arch, and it comes to be inserted where? It is inserted over the apex. Look here, apex of the coronoid process, the medial surface of the coronoid process, and the anterior border of this coronoid process, anterior border of this coronoid process, and up to the anterior border of this mandible to the last molar tooth. Okay, so this is the last molar tooth. So the insertion of this temporalis muscle, it is over the coronoid process, apex, anterior border as well as the medial aspect of that, and also extends over the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible up to the last molar tooth. So this is the insertion pattern of the temporalis muscle. Now, what would be the action? Look here. Then what would be the action of this muscle? How it acts? All the muscles of mastication, where it acts? Also the characteristic feature of the muscle of mastication acts on the temporomandibular joint, helps in the mastication, chewing movement of the oral cavity. So, how it helps in mastication or the movement of the mandible, you can say, at the temporomandibular joint? How it helps? With the action here then, action of this temporalis muscle. This is the vertical fibers here, the vertical, this is the oblique, and this is the horizontal fibers. You can say anterior, middle and the posterior fibers. Now the action of these fibers depending upon its direction would be different here. When these fibers, the vertical fibers, when it will contract, what I am saying, when it will contract, what it will do? It will elevate the mandible. What it will do? It will elevate the mandible. When the anterior fibers or the vertical fibers or the anterior fibers, what is do? It elevate the mandible. It elevates the mandible, or you can so close the mouth. Close the mouth or the lower jaw. Then what about these oblique fibers and these horizontal fibers? What it will do? Look here. The direction of the pull by these fibers on the mandible are, suppose in any case if this mandible is protruded forwards, mandible, it is, look here, it is protruded forward, it is, this action it is done by the pterygoid muscles, it is protruded forward, then which muscle will retract this mandible to its position? That is the oblique as well as the strong fibers or the horizontal fibers of the middle plus the horizontal fibers. Posterior fibers. What it will do? It will retract the mandible. Retract the mandible backwards. Okay. What it will do? Middle fibers and the posterior fibers, it will retract the mandible backwards like this. Protruded mandible, it will retract it. So this is the action of the temporalis muscle. Okay. Now what is the nerve supply of this temporalis muscle? What could be the nerve supply here? This temporalis muscle, it is supplied by nerve supply of this temporalis. It is supplied by which nerve? I have just now told that it is supplied by the mandibular nerve. How? The mandibular nerve. It has got a common trunk here, and after it is divided into the anterior and posterior division. It is emerging from the foramen ovale here. After emerging from the foramen ovale, there is a common trunk where the sensory and motor both branches are mixed, and then it divides into the anterior division and the posterior division. From the anterior division, all branches are motor. Mind it, all branches are motor, and posteriorly all are sensory. There are exceptions. Here there is a buccal nerve, which is a sensory branch, and here it is also nerve to mylohyoid, which is again motor. So there are exceptions to both the division. So I am discussing how the temporalis gets its nerve supply. So this anterior division of the mandibular nerve, it will give a branch. It will give a branch that is known as the deep temporal nerves. Deep temporal nerves, which are two in number, anterior plus posterior. So temporalis muscle, it is getting its nerve supplies by the anterior division of the mandibular nerve. How? Anterior division gives a special branch to supply the temporalis, which is known as the deep temporal nerve, which is two in number, anterior and the posterior. Now come to the another second muscles of mastication, that is the masseter, which is masseter muscle. So what will be the action of this? Look here, what will be the direction? All the fibers, what it will do? It will elevate the mandible. It will elevate the depressed mandible. That means it will also help in closing the mouth. So the action of masseter, it is the, depending upon the action, contraction of the fibers above, it will elevate the mandible and helps in the, just like the temporalis and the medial pterygoid, it also assists in the closing the mouth. So this is the masseter. And what is the nerve supply of this masseter? What is the nerve supply of this masseter muscle? Masseteric nerve. Masseteric nerve. It is supplied. Branch of masseteric nerve. It is the branch of anterior division of the mandibular nerve. Okay, masseteric nerve. That means masseteric nerve. It is originating from the anterior division, just like the deep temporal nerve. From the anterior division of the mandibular nerve, it supplies the masseter muscles. Okay, this muscle shape is quadrilateral and very helpfully forceful batching of the food. Now comes the pterygoid group of muscles. Pterygoid. First, you will discuss the medial pterygoid. The medial pterygoid. Okay. Now, this medial pterygoid muscle there should be a plate, isn't it? There should be a plate. This is the pterygoid plate. This is the zygomatic arch. This is the mastoid process posteriorly, external auditory meatus. Now, here it is the mandible. Now, this medial pterygoid muscle, this muscle has got two heads of origin. Two heads of origin. What are those heads? One is superficial head, and another is the deep head. And the insertion again on the ramus of the mandible. Now first you look from where the superficial and the deep head originates of this. This is the condylar process, this is the coronoid process. Okay, this is the mandible. This is the pterygoid plate. Which pterygoid plate? This is the lateral pterygoid plate. Look here. Here there is the lateral pterygoid plate. A part of which bone it is? Lateral pterygoid plate. It is the part of the sphenoid bone. Or anteriorly, this is the maxilla, and posteriorly this part, it is known as the maxillary tuberosity. Okay. So, and in between the pterygoid plate and this maxilla, there is a pterygomaxillary fissure. So, this is the lateral pterygoid plate and this is the medial pterygoid plate. This lateral pterygoid plate has got the lateral surface and the medial surface. Okay. So, this lateral pterygoid, we are discussing the medial origin of the medial pterygoid muscle. Okay. So, look here. Then what is the role of the deep head and the superficial head? The superficial head of this medial pterygoid muscle originates from the maxillary tuberosity. It is, the fibers are left. It is, the direction it is backwards. And where it is? It is originating from the maxilla. This is the maxillary tuberosity here. This is the maxillary tuberosity originating from here. Fibers it is, direction of the fibers is downwards and backwards. It is like that. And where it is inserted? This medial pterygoid. Suppose this is the, till now you have discussed the lateral surface. Okay. We are all depending upon the insertion of the temporalis and the masseter. Now you consider the insertion of the medial pterygoid. So you have to consider this face, internal surface. Because the insertion of the medial pterygoid, it is on the inner aspect of the medial surface, you can say, of the angle, just posterior inferior to this mandibular foramen, and this is the mylohyoid groove here. Here it is the mylohyoid groove and this is the mandibular foramen. So posterior to that, posterior inferior to the mandibular foramen and also posterior to the mylohyoid groove, there will be the insertion of the medial pterygoid muscle. So consider it. Suppose here it is the mandibular foramen and here it is the mylohyoid groove here. So posterior to that and inferior to this mandibular foramen, there is the insertion pattern. A broken line because it is on the inner aspect. This is the superficial fiber. Superficial fiber are less in number. Okay? And D fibers are more. D fibers originates from the, because don't get confused here, medial pterygoid it is, and so you have to say medial pterygoid plate. No, the medial, there is only one pterygoid plate for the relation of the origin of the two pterygoid muscles. That is the lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate as well as the medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate. So because we are discussing the medial pterygoid muscle, so it will be the medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate, not the medial pterygoid plate. Clear? So the deep head, it originates from this medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate. Okay? And it is inserted. So what would be the action here of this superficial D fiber? What would be the action? Look here. What it will do? It will, this medial pterygoid, because the level of the insertion, look here, level of the insertion, it is at lower level depending upon its origin. First thing. And also the direction pull. What it will do? One action it is elevation and another action it is protrusion. First is elevation. It will elevate the mandible because the insertion it is a lower level. When it will contract, it will pull the mandible above, or you can say it will help in closing the mouth. Another action, when both the sides along with the lateral pterygoid muscle, it is protrusion of the mandible. Protrusion of the mandible. Okay, protrusion. It will protrude the mandible along with the lateral pterygoid, with the help of the lateral pterygoid muscle, both the pterygoid muscles. If the question asked like the muscles which helps in protrusion of the mandible, it is not only one pterygoid. If both the pterygoids when contract, it will protrude the mandible anteriorly. So this is the medial pterygoid muscles, the origin, the insertion, what are the heads, what are the action of this, and what would be the nerve supply of this muscle. In the muscle of mastication, this is the key point here. Now, this muscle, medial pterygoid. Just now we will discuss the lateral pterygoid. It is known as the key muscle of the infratemporal region. And here the key point of this medial pterygoid muscle, it is related with this nerve supply. How? OT ganglia you have heard. OT ganglia. What is this OT ganglia? It is one of the parasympathetic ganglia of the head and neck. Okay? OT ganglia just situated just below the foramen ovale. What happens? Just now I have discussed this after emerging through the foramen ovale. Okay? This mandibular nerve, both the motor and sensory, it divides into the anterior and the posterior division we have discussed now. So this length, just after emerging by the foramen ovale, it is the undivided trunk present here in the infratemporal area. So what it will do? A very important key catch here. Nerve to medial, a direct branch. It is giving, it is very favorite. Medial pterygoid muscle, very favorite for this. That is, it will give a direct branch from the undivided trunk, and the nomenclature is nerve to medial pterygoid. Isn't it? The nerve to medial pterygoid. And the rest of the muscles of mastication was getting its nerve supply from the anterior division. That is the temporalis, that is the masseter, that is the nerve to lateral pterygoid. So that was the difference. If the question asked, suppose you are asked the questions, which of the muscles mastication get its nerve supply directly from the undivided trunk? That is the medial pterygoid. So this nerve to medial pterygoid, it is very important. It originates, this nerve, it is a direct branch of the undivided trunk of the mandibular nerve. Okay? And from the undivided trunk, the another nerve which emerges out just after that is the nervus spinosum. Nervus spinosum. Okay? So this is the nerve to medial pterygoid, and just suppose that the nervus spinosum, which again enters the cranial cavity via the foramen spinosum. So nervus spinosum. So we were not considering this. We are considering the medial pterygoid muscle here. So that was the important key point with the nerve supply of the medial pterygoid. Now this nerve to medial pterygoid, it is medial pterygoid, of course, it is one of the muscle of mastication, and it should be supplied by the mandibular nerve. So this nerve to medial pterygoid, it is, suppose here in the infratemporal area there is a ganglia, where it is known as the otic ganglia. Okay, so this nerve passes through this otic ganglia, and then it supplies the three muscles there. And what are those muscles? Medial pterygoid, tensor tympani, and tensor palatii. Okay, so these are the three muscles: medial pterygoid, the tensor tympani, and the tensor palatii muscles. It is getting their nerve supply via the mandibular nerve, via the otic ganglia. This nerve to medial pterygoid, it will passes this otic ganglia, and then it is supplying these three muscles. Now there is again a catch here. This is the medial pterygoid, one of the muscles of mastication. What about these two? Why it is getting the nerve supply by this nerve to medial pterygoid? Because when we have discussed in the embryology class, you just remember, there are 8 muscles originating by the first pharyngeal arch. The medial pterygoid, the 4 muscles of mastication. Then comes the tensor tympani, tensor palatii, anterior belly of the digastric muscle, and the mylohyoid. Isn't it? Anterior belly of the digastric as well as the mylohyoid muscle. So anyhow, these two, tensor tympani and tensor palatii, again it is the derivative of the first pharyngeal arch. That's why through this pattern, this diagram, it is getting its nerve supply. Still 2 muscles are left to be supplied by the mandibular nerve of the first pharyngeal arch. That is the anterior belly of digastric and the mylohyoid. We will discuss later, because mandibular nerve, it is also supplying the rest of the 2. So this was the medial pterygoid muscles. Now lateral pterygoid. lateral pterygoid muscle. It is short conical in shape. It is short and conical in shape. And origin from it originates by two heads again, but here is no superficial and deep. Here there are two heads of origin, two heads, upper head and the lower head. Okay, upper head and the lower head of the lateral pterygoid. Now look here, again the same diagram. Again, here is the head of mandible, the coronoid process. It's the body. This is the zygomatic arch. This is the lateral pterygoid plate here. This is the pterygomaxillary fissure and this is the maxilla. Again the same diagram. Now, the lateral pterygoid muscle, it is the key muscle of the intratemporal region because so many structures are closely related, important structures are related with the in relation with the lateral pterygoid. For the maxillary artery, look, just like the pectoralis minor muscle, which is the key muscle in the pectoral region, isn't it? It is dividing the axillary artery. Due to its presence, it is dividing the axillary artery into three: proximal, the middle and the distal part, three parts. Just like that, this lateral pterygoid muscle, it is dividing the ear maxillary artery into the first part, the second part and the third part. So it is the key muscle. Now first of all we will discuss the origin, the upper head and the lower head. Yeah. Here it is the head of the mandible and here it is the concavo surface of the temporomandibular joint, which is formed by the temporal bone, and here it is the, we have discussed the temporomandibular joint. In that we have discussed that there is an intra-articular disc. We have already discussed these things in the TM joint. Okay, so this is the head of the mandible, this is the head, this is the TM joint, this is the intra-articular disc here and this is the fibrous capsule or the articular capsule which is closing the joint cavity. Now the upper head of the lateral pterygoid muscles, it originates from the greater wing of the sphenoid. Greater wing of sphenoid. So greater wing of the sphenoid has got two aspects. It has got a surface here and it has got a crest here. Look here. This is the sphenoid bone and this is the greater wing of the sphenoid here. Okay, the greater wing of the sphenoid has got the intratemporal surface as well as the intratemporal crest. Here is a ridge here which is known as the intratemporal crest and here is the intratemporal surface. So that's why it is above the lateral pterygoid plate, lying just above to that. So the fibers of the lateral pterygoid muscle which will originate will be uppers in relation with the fibers which will be originating from the lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate. So the classification of the heads are given on the basis of the anatomically where it is situated, above or below. So upper head upper head originates from the infratemporal surface. Upper head, it originates from the infratemporal surface. The infratemporal surface as well as the crest. Here. Okay, like this. So these are the, it is above. Origin, look here. Origin it is here. This is the head of the mandible. Origin is, it is the greater wing of the sphenoid, and another part, that is the lower head. This is the upper head originating from the infratemporal crest. Infratemporal crest plus surface of what? Of greater wing of sphenoid bone. Isn't it? So, this is the upper head. Upper head in its alignment posteriorly. It is, in the previous lecture we have discussed that intra-articular disc, it is nothing but it's supposed to be the insertion pattern or the remnant pattern of the tendinous pattern of the lateral pterygoid muscles. So this head, it is inserted on the fibrous capsule and it is continuous posteriorly in the joint cavity in the form of the intra-articular disc. Now comes the lower head. For the lower head, you see there is a word nomenclature when you have read the mandible, pterygoid pit or pterygoid fovea. What I am saying? Pterygoid pit, or you can say pterygoid fovea. Where it is present? In the neck of the mandible. And where is the neck of the mandible? Just below the head there is neck. This is the head. So, anterior part of this neck, there is a depression here. Here, look here. There is a depressed part which is known as the pterygoid pit or pterygoid fovea. Then what is the relation of these two pterygoid nomenclatures with the muscle of mastication? This lateral pterygoid muscle, the lower head, originates from the lateral surface. Here is the pit, the depression, and here it is the neck, here it is the head. So, whole of the lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate, it gives origin to the which muscle? That is the lateral pterygoid. Okay. So these are the two heads, upper and the lower. And the lower head, it is lying in between the superficial and the deep head of which muscle? The medial pterygoid. This lower head, it lies between the superficial and the deep head of the medial pterygoid muscles. So what is, you can see this is a conical, it is pointed, conical shape, a pointed part, it is like this, okay. So it is conical in shape, pointed part, it is directed posteriorly to the TM joint and the neck of the mandible, and the fan shifted part, it is protruded anteriorly above or downwards on the lateral pterygoid plate and the infratemporal surface or the crest of the sphenoid. So, what would be the action? Look here, a very important point with the muscles of mastication. All the muscles that we have discussed now, temporalis, masseter, medial pterygoid, all were elevated or they were elevating the mandible. But this one, the lateral pterygoid muscle, it is the only muscle in the muscles of mastication. It is very important for the viva. This one, very important for the viva MCQ. Okay, it is the only muscle which helps in function of this. What it will function, or you can say the action of this muscle is jaw opener or depress the mandible. What it will do? It will depress the mandible. So it is a very important point, or the, you can say, opening the mouth, opening the mouth, opening the mouth. this action of the lateral pterygoid, of course it is assisted by some suprahyoid muscles also, or you can say gravitational, or also the gravitational force also assists in the depression of the mandible. So the major action of this lateral pterygoid muscle, it is the opening, it helps in opening the mandible, depressing the mandible so that the jaw is open or mouth is open. Now why? Because look here, all the insertion of the muscles of mastication where origin were at the higher level in comparison to its insertion. It is the only muscle where there is the insertion, it is at the where? Higher level in relation with its origin. Look. So, neck of the mandible, it is at higher level in comparison to its origin, level of the origin. Level of the origin, it is below, and the neck of the mandible, it is above. So when the fibers will contract, what will it do? It will protrude the mandible anteriorly. Protrusion. What it will do? It will protrude the mandible. Okay. As well as it will depress the mandible. It will depress the mandible. Why? While protruding, what it will do? It will pull the intraarticular disc and the mandible will be protruded anteriorly, and it will also, when the fibers will contract, it will depress the mandible and the jaw will be open. Then these two pterygoid muscles, so these were the some action on that, and all the muscles of mastication are, the action of these muscles are taking place at which joint? On the temporomandibular joint. Okay. So these two pterygoid muscles, it combinedly, both the pterygoid group of muscles have combined actions also. Suppose the side to side movement like this, when you are chewing like this, okay, but then what happens? When both the medial pterygoid and the lateral pterygoid muscles of, suppose, right side, it will contract. What it will do? Right side lateral pterygoid, right side medial pterygoid. When it will contract, it will pull the mandible towards the opposite side. And side to side movement, what happens? When this lateral pterygoid, right side contracts and the opposite side medial pterygoid contracts. So vice versa. That means one side medial pterygoid, opposite side lateral pterygoid will contract. Then alternate, you will say that alternate contraction of these two pterygoid muscles will help in the side to side movements at the temporomandibular joint. Okay, so it was a very important topic. Now, how you will test these muscles of mastication? Then you ask the patient to clench your teeth. Clench your teeth repeatedly, and when you will ask the patient to clench the teeth like this, then at the same time you will feel here. I am clenching my teeth, then I am feeling where a masseter. What I am feeling for here? Masseter. And contraction of the masseter you can feel here, and as well as in the temporal fossa you can feel the contraction of the temporalis muscles. Okay, so very important topic we have discussed, the temporomandibular joint in the previous class, and in this class the muscles of mastication. So both the topics are complementary to each other. So if you read one topic properly, then you will cover both of them. Additionals are there, intraarticular disc in the temporomandibular joint, and the actions here, muscles of mastication, and the actions are, you have to write both commonly for the muscles of mastication as well as the temporomandibular joint. Okay, so this was all about the muscles of mastication today. Now I have heard that you people are coming from the 1st October. If it is like that, we will come